Is the new Nike Mercurial any good? Well, there's been a few changes to the Superfly 8 and Vapor 14, and today I'll tell you how they feel and perform on the pitch, and whether you should buy them straight away or wait a bit and see. I'm JayMike, and this is the Superfly 8 and Vapor 14 review.
The new Mercurial set themselves apart from the last generation by introducing a synthetic upper called Vapor and has a few changes to the outsole. And the only difference between the two models is that Superfly has a collar and Vapor does not.
The Vapor upper here, as it's called, is the star of the show. And if you want a breakdown of what it does, I take a deep dive in my tech talk that you can watch via the pop-up on the screen right there or the link in the description. The most important thing about the upper though is that it's really soft straight out of the box. It's not quite as flexible as the Vapor 13 with the Flyknit right away, but after a few sessions it softens up really well and feels very, very good around your foot. And somehow the upper feels thinner and closer around the foot and to the foot than the Flyknit upper did. If you guys remember the Vapor 11, this definitely has that sort of vibe to it. You will need to live with the upper creasing and crumbling up a bit at first when you bend your foot because, well, synthetic, but thankfully it's not a long-lasting problem as you break the boots in and the upper softens up. The Vapor especially is also easier to get on now, but while the pull tab here helps a little bit, it's also kind of slippery and, well, I still found myself putting my finger inside the boot to guide my foot in place, so it's mostly a visual thing. When we're talking lockdown, Nike went on and on about their new speed band holding your foot in place. And while it's not miles better, at least, than the Vapor 13, I still felt a little bit more secure inside the new Mercurials. At least, I felt they were a bit more stable when I did these hard foot plants and changes of direction. And whether it's a placebo effect because it's a firmer synthetic upper, I'm not really sure of. It might be, but at least it feels like the upper is a bit more closely aligned with the movement of the foot. And that's nice.
It's nice.
In general though, the fit feels a lot like in the Vapor 13 with a slightly more roomy toe box. And that's a very good thing since these fit extremely well. They're still pretty tight fitting, but also wide enough to be forgiving for most wide-footed people. And the sizing was spot on by going true to size for me. They kind of feel like Nike sat down and said, okay, how can we make significant enough changes to call them a brand new innovation without really changing how they feel? So yes, it feels different, but still pretty familiar.
And actually, that familiarity can be seen on the touch as well, where Nike have aimed for a textured feel thanks to the engineered mesh component.
Of course, being a synthetic material, you get a super sharp and raw and almost barefoot-like feel on the ball, just like last year, by the way. But on the new Mercurials, the touch on the ball feels a bit flatter and thinner and with less of that softness that you got from the knit. Some will like it, some won't. But it's more like those Mercurials of old, where you really felt the ball pinging off of your foot when you struck it. The texture is also pretty good and gives you an almost matte feel on the ball, meaning that you get a good amount of grip, but without the boots feeling too sticky.
The outsole has stayed more or less the same, but Nike have added a torsion bar to their Aero Track spine to make the boot stiffer and more responsive.
And to be fair, the midfoot is very stable, and when you combine that with the really aggressive snapback you get when you push off, it is just a ridiculously responsive outsole on the new Mercurials. That's actually in a really tight contest with the X-Ghosted Carbotex tooling for being the best speed outsole you can get.
However, not everything is shiny and perfect with the new Mercs, so here are 5 annoying things that you need to know about.
First up, protection. It's a thin upper, so if you get stepped on, it'll hurt a lot. Then there are the speed wings, which you'd think adds extra lockdown in the heel. They don't, it's just more visual bling. Also, the weight increase bugs me. Does it feel heavy on the pitch? No, it doesn't. But compared to the older Mercs or the X-Ghosted or the Puma Ultras, well, it does feel a little less impressively light. And the Ultras have shown that you can get comfort and lightweight. So, also, I'm a wee bit annoyed that the Superfly is still just a Vapor with a sock that costs 20 euros more. I mean, the Superfly should be the crazy wild thing. Now it's just a sock version. Finally, going back to a synthetic upper risks losing at least some of the people who wouldn't typically wear Mercurial, but wore these anyway because they were so comfortable and easy to wear. However, that might actually be a clever move by Nike, because now the Mercurials and the Phantom GTs don't feel like more or less the same boots with different widths anymore. And still, these maintain a lot of the things that worked on the previous versions of the Mercurial. So if you are a fan of the older Mercurials with synthetic uppers, these should be an instant cop via the link right over there that comes in a few seconds. However, if you primarily wore the Vapor 13s because of the Flyknit upper, these will still be great, but the Phantom GTs might also be the better choice for you, so consider those. But guys, what do you actually think about the new Mercurials? Let us know in the comment section right down below. Go cop them right over there, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel before you bounce. With that said, I'll be signing off. Cheerio.